Smoke 'em if you got 'em. We're going to cap the entire Cigar Mile Day card at Aqueduct. Salutations and welcome, horse racing fans. My name is Matthew Desantis, the host of Capping the Card. You can find me on Twitter at the handle at Fail to Menace. We are thrilled to be coming back after a little bit of a hiatus after the Breeders' Cup to do some more Capping the Cards. We're going to make this obviously a weekly special where I run through every single race on the card and give you my top pick and my top value play. Listen, I connected you to some huge prices at the Breeders' Cup, 320 to 1 trifecta in the juvenile turf. So hopefully you played that. I know a few of you did because I saw some of you make comments below that you hit it big on the play. Nagarok to the hoop, third place, 39 to 1, made that a very rich day. So, like I said, took a little bit of a break after the Breeders' Cup. We'd been putting out so much content. And then obviously having the holidays, but excited to come back for big grade one, the Cigar Mile, and going to cap all 10 races on the Saturday card at Aqueduct. And like I said, we're going to run through races 1 through 10. I'm going to not go into every single horse in those races, but just give you my top pick and my top value play. Now, some people have said, how should I approach this? Should I do exacta boxes? Should I just play straight win tickets? That sort of thing. I think it depends on the nature of the race. We'll talk about that a little bit as we go through. Sometimes some of those value plays, maybe they're horses you didn't consider using in a pick sequence. Maybe that's worth thinking twice about including a horse there. Maybe a horse that I don't mention is maybe worth thinking about excluding from a pick ticket. Obviously, everybody plays these cards a little bit differently. Find what works for you, whether that's a straight win bet, exactas, exacta boxes, pick sequences, etc. Okay. But like I said, we're going to run 1 through 10 on this. But before we do that, make sure to like the video, comment below on what's your best bet and best value play at the Cigar Mile Day card at Aqueduct. And then also make sure to subscribe to Trust the Profits on YouTube. You do not want to miss the content we have going out. I host another program called the Win Play Show where I do race recaps, interviews with people from across the horse racing industry, and more. Obviously, we have Colin with Daily Doubles and Doubling Down. We got him also doing a lot of stuff on the Derby Trail, the early Derby Trail. We got the live streams going on Wednesdays and Thursday nights. We have graded stakes previews up all the time. So we have a lot of content here on the channel. Make sure to like and subscribe. So like I said, it is the Cigar Mile card. Listen, I got to give a little shout out to T there and Tony Soprano, one of my favorite television characters, and excited for this card. But there's a lot of great races before we get to the Cigar Mile, which we will inevitably get to. But let's kick things off and let's go straight into race 1, which is a $85,000 maiden special weight, 7 furlong, 4 2-year-olds. And where am I going here? Well, I'm going to the Bill Mott barn, quite frankly, because here's the thing. This is not a particularly large maiden special weight field. And I should also point out before we get started, all of these races are on the dirt. Aqueduct stopped racing on the turf a couple weeks back. And so all of these are going to be dirt races. I don't have that designated here, but just to let you know, all races 1 through 10 on the dirt. But like I said, in race 1, I like the 2 entries from the Bill Mott barn for a couple of different reasons. Like I said, this is not a large field. And so a lot of times it's hard to find value in a maiden special weight in these kinds of large fields. The other thing to mention before we get into discussing the details of this, there is a 100% chance of rain on Saturday at Aqueduct in Queens, New York. I'm not one to always like handicapping around weather, especially 48 hours out. I'm recording this Thursday night, so a little bit ahead of time, but with a 100% chance, I think it's important to take note of what weather conditions are probably going to be. It's going to be at least a wet track. It might be good, might end up being sloppy or muddy by the end of the day, just depending on the rain. But like I said, it's going to be an off track. It's not going to be fast and dry, that's for sure. So taking that into consideration when playing some of these cards is going to be critical. But like I said, we're going to try to find you value. David Aragona, who sets the morning line for New York, does an amazing job, but there's still value to be found. And like I said, I like them 2 Mott horses here. So let's talk a little bit about top pick. Classic Legacy, 8-5 in the morning line, jockey with Junior Alvarado, has good experience. This will be this horse's third race. You've seen a progression each time out. Third race, like I said, what was interesting is the last time out, the third place horse from the last time out, where Classic Legacy finished second, that horse actually came back to win next time out. Go back and look at the first race that Classic Legacy won, that maiden debut effort at Saratoga. That was a very live race. The third place horse in that race was Expected Value, came out and won next time out. The fourth place horse was a horse named Bat Flip, which actually switched surfaces, broke its maiden, and then won a stakes race. So that was, like I said, a very live race. I think Classic Legacy, like I said, has progressed nicely. There's some pedigree to suggest it won't mind in off-track conditions. Bill Mott, hard to go against this pick here. In terms of the value play, I do like the 8-1 shot Bearings quite a bit in this spot. And I think you're getting a little bit of value here in what is evidently going to be a race where some of the top picks take a lot of money. There's a Chad Brown horse debuting in this race as well. That's going to probably take a lot of action. But I think you're going to get an honest price on Bearings. This is purely a pedigree play to some extent. This is a son of Candy Ride, 20% wet dirt winners. So off-track conditions, Candy Ride progeny winning at a 20% clip. This is very similar to Gun Runners, another Candy Ride progeny, by the way. Gun Runners winning at an incredibly high clip on off-track conditions. Here's the real kicker, though. Steady Course, the dam, okay, the dam of Bearings, 8 for 9 in the money offsprings running on wet dirt, 5 for 5 for 2-year-olds in terms of the offspring of Steady Course, and 4 for 5 in the money first time out for the offspring of Steady Course. So the dam is just dynamite here. 4 for 5 in the money first time out, 5 for 5 overall for 2-year-olds, and has a really solid record on wet dirt. So I like that combination of up top pedigree, underneath pedigree there. I think at 8-1, you're getting a really nice value. This is a breeder owner horse as well. That's something I always like to see in these spots as well. So that's my top pick and top value play in race one. Classic Legacy up top, and Bearings I think is going to run very, very well. So I like the Bill Mott Exacta in this one. So let's go to race two. And this is a $70,000 maiden special weight, 6 furlongs for 2-year-old fillies. And it is a state restricted race. So it is for those New York breds, which is something to keep in mind. So when looking at this second race, my top pick actually goes to, I think, the third choice in the morning line, which is the number 6 Midtown Lights. This is a Brad Cox horse going from turf to dirt. I always love that angle with Brad Cox. He's super successful making that transition, winning at a 31% clip. You can't argue with that. Now, why else do I like Midtown Lights up top in this particular case? Well, the sire produces a decent amount of 2-year-old winners, but often not the first time out. That's what's so interesting. Usually they win a little bit later on as 2-year-olds. Well, I like the fact that this horse has 2 races under its belt and now has progressed a little bit each time, switching surfaces. And I like this spot for Midtown Lights quite a bit. Should get a good trip. Also, Cox taking the blinkers off this horse. That's a winning move for him. 31% winning rate when taking the blinkers off of horses. So all those things together, the surface switch, the fact that the pedigree suggests the more this horse runs, the better this horse will get. I like this horse in this spot. You're getting a little bit of value up top at 7-2. Now, in terms of the value play, FEMA funds, this is the Linda Rice horse. Now, you're not getting a ton of value because, again, this is a smaller field. There's some huge long shots that I just don't think have much of a chance. But at 9-2, you're at least getting a little bit of value from this Linda Rice horse, jockeyed by Jose Lezcano. And worth noting a couple of things. One, Linda Rice, second start, always very strong, about 24% win rate. Also, this horse showed some ability last time, had to go super wide, swung 6 wide, in fact. So there was a little bit of trouble there. Better trip this time around. I think you're going to see a better progression there for FEMA funds. I will also say the number 2 horse in this race is a little bit interesting. That horse has flashed some early speed in each of his last couple of races. But the problem with Pretty Miss Keynes, which is the 6-1 horse, the number 2 horse, is fades big time. And so will flash that early speed, but does tend to fade. I do think this horse will run better this time out, but for my money, I just think the five FEMA funds at 9-2 gives you a little bit of value. Like I said, in a race where there are a lot of horses bunched up at that kind of 3-1, 4-1, 9-2, 7-2 area. And then there's some big long shots that I just don't think have much of a chance. So, like I said, 7-2 up top, 9-2 has a little bit of a value play. And let's go on to the third race on the card. So the third race on the card is a $25,000 claimer, 6.5 furlongs for 3-year-olds and ups. And this is for fillies. And this is also a state restricted race. So looking at this one, like I said, will be interesting to see how this plays out. I actually like the coupled entry here, the 1 and 1A up top. So my top pick is Veradia at 5-2, Jeffrey Englehart, horse jockey by Dylan Davis. I think this is a horse that just will sit the right type of trip, should benefit from the speed up front. The number 5 and the number 6 horse. And just to give you the names of those two, Beautiful Karen and Quality Stones, I think those two are really going to go at it up front. And as a result, I think this sets up perfectly for Veradia, who typically likes to sit around third, second, third, and that first and second calls. So should get that nice trip behind the early speed. 5-for-9 winning on a wet track. Won last time out against Open Company with a very similar trip, sitting third early and then making a move and pulling away. So I again like that, the fact that this horse has run against Open Company. In fact, the last 4 races, all of those have been good efforts. 1 win, 3 seconds, the last 4 times out. Now going to a state restricted claiming race like this, set up for this particular horse, 5-2, second choice on the board right now. So, like I said, nice play there. The value play that I like is the 4 Dat Dares Gold at 8-1, Kieran McGee horse, jockeyed by Jose Vargas Jr. And this is a horse that's a little bit of a play in terms of the conditions. This is a horse that is 6-for-12 in the money on a wet surface. So it should also sit a good trip, should sit a very similar trip actually to Veradia. Should sit that kind of second, third, fourth type of trip, sit behind the early speed a little bit. Also, last time out, Dat Dares Gold actually won over this course at Aqueduct. Now, I know if you look back a couple of races ago at Charlestown, at Finger Lakes, and you go, how good is this horse really? But like I said, won at a claiming race, Open Company last time out. Granted, it was a $10,000 claimer, but finished second to a horse, Miss Adelaide Miss, I should say, former Brittany Russell horse. It was a pretty good horse, actually, and it just switched surfaces on the claiming circuit. So, wasn't running against bad company there last time out. And like I said, had a win over this track. I think that counts for something, or a second place finish over this track. 2 wins in 4 attempts at this distance. Like I said, a lot of things to like there, I think, for Dat Dares Gold at 8-1 gives you a little bit of value. Well, let's go to race number 4 on the card, and that is a $40,000 maiden claimer, 6 furlongs for 3-year-olds and up. This is another state restricted race for the fillies, but it is it's not just for the fillies, I should say, but it is a restricted race for New York breds. Now, who do I like in this spot? And one of the things I should say is I love attacking maiden claiming races. You can usually find really good value. My top pick is a 7-2 horse, which I think is the third choice in the morning line. Why do I like Central Pride so much? The John Terranova horse, jockeyed by Manny Franco. Love this horse because the blinkers are going on. That's something I always look at in maiden claiming races, which is an equipment change, because typically that can be the difference between winning and losing. The blinkers on is a good move for Terranova, winning at a 23% clip with a $2.68 ROI when putting the blinkers on a horse. So that's a winning move for this trainer. And the interesting thing about Central Pride, has a little bit of a muddied up running form. Tried turf a lot, has 4 turf races and 9 career efforts. He's simply not a turf horse. Those dirt efforts are his best efforts. So in 5 dirt efforts, he's got 1 second and 2 thirds. Not bad. I mean, and he's run respectably in those positions. Never finished worse than 5th on the dirt. So he's shown some ability there. His last time out was his best speed figure, a 65 over that Aqueduct surface. And like I said, I think getting the blinkers is going to be good. I wouldn't expect him on the lead. I think the blinkers are just going to keep him more engaged. He has a sense of falling very far back very quickly. I mean, if you just look by second call, last time he was 5 lengths back, then 7 lengths back. So if he can just be 2 or 3 lengths back, I think that's the biggest difference. So, like I said, I like what this horse has at 7-2, like that value a lot. Now, in terms of my value play here, 15-1 Clash AJ. This is a horse I absolutely love in this spot. And this is another one that I love underneath in particular. Third back from the form cycle. This horse had a long layoff between February to October. Now is coming back, running on a little bit of a quick turnaround. But the trainer has had success on quick turnarounds. And here's the thing, this horse has actually run really, really well on its quickest turnaround. So get this, you might think, Matthew, just the horse just ran November 22nd, now coming back just a week later. Well, listen to this. January 1st, this horse runs in the slop at Aqueduct in a maiden special weight. Okay. Comes back January 9th at Aqueduct, runs on a good track at 7 furlongs. And guess what? Finishes second by a head, which is to date the best effort this horse has ever put out. So this horse does not mind running on a quick turnaround. That would not be a reason I would fade this horse. So this horse, like I said, has some races to run back to. Only time this horse has ever run at a maiden claiming level, finished second. So I like that a lot, and finished second to a horse in Badgerville that actually won next time out as well. So the combination of some success on wet tracks, 2 second places and 3 career wet track efforts, and the fact that this horse finished second in a maiden claiming race, the only time it ever ran and won. I like that combination of factors in this spot. 15-1, I think you're getting a really honest, great price on this horse. And I think this is a horse that's got a live effort in him. And I said in a field where I'm not overwhelmed, I think I really like what you can get there at 15-1 with Clash AJ. Let's take a look at the fifth race, which is a $62,000 optional claimer, 7 furlongs for 3-year-olds and up. And this is a race, obviously, right before we get into this slew of graded stakes races. But I got to be honest, there's a horse in this race that's worth talking about, even though I don't have this horse picked, which is Bourbonic. That's right. The former Kentucky Derby entry is actually running in this race, in this $62,000 optional claimer. This is a horse that has not run in nearly a year. Last time out was December 19th of 2021. Now, this is a horse that's 3-1 on the morning line. I know Todd Pletcher has some success with these long layoffs. I'm going to look past Bourbonic in this particular spot, and I'm going to go with the number 4 horse, American Gentleman. I really like this horse a lot. This horse loves Aqueduct. 9 for 11 in the money at Aqueduct, 7 for 11 in the exacta with 3 wins. Been running against really solid company too. Has been running against Allowance Company and has been running against horses like St. Tappet, Añejo, Osborne. Has been running against some, like I said, really nice horses and running respectably in those spots. Won last time out at an allowance, $90,000 allowance race at Aqueduct. Has had some good efforts over this track, obviously, like I said, has run pretty well at the distance, has had 5 career efforts, 1 second place, 2/3 at this 7 furlong distance. But like I said, I think this horse, has demonstrated some ability to be able to go a little bit longer. This horse has, some nice 7 furlong races in it. And so I don't think this is, I don't think this distance will be too much of a problem. So, like I said, it has had some nice efforts at this distance before. Also, doesn't need to lead. Should sit a really nice trip between the 1 and 1A as well as the 6. And this is a horse that's improving. I just think this is a horse that's ascending and moving in the right direction, has some success on this track, like the pedigree a lot, obviously American Pharaoh progeny, and is having a pretty good 2022, 5 for 8 in the money this year with 2 wins and 2 seconds. So at 9-2, you're getting a little bit of value here. Where am I going with my value play? Well, I'm going to the far outside. Milton the Monster at 6-1. This is a John Service horse. Why do I like this horse? Horse is 2 for 2 at this distance at 7 furlongs. This horse is 6 for 6 in the money on wet surfaces. Hello. That's a if you're calling for a 100% chance of rain, I'm absolutely going to use that as an angle. 13 for 19 career in the money. Nice third place effort at Aqueduct last time out, or not last time out, but last time at Aqueduct. Nice third place effort in actually a listed stakes race. Finished third that day at the Stymie. So at a mile. So this is a horse that can absolutely do the distance, likes the 7 furlongs. I just think there's some things to like here. It's 6-1. Like you're getting some really nice value in this particular spot. So Milton the Monster for me as the value play in race 5. Well, let's move on to race 6, which kicks off the graded stakes portion of the card. And this is the Demoiselle. Of course, last year won by Nest, the year before won by Malathat. And I bring up Malathat because the top pick, Julia Shining, is a full sister to Malathat. Up top, down bottom, full sister. Julia Shining, the 3-5 overwhelming morning line favorite for Todd Pletcher and Louise Saez. This is the daughter of Curlin and the daughter of Dreaming of Julia. Like I said, full to Malathat. The wet surface should not be an issue at all. Malathat always ran well on wet surfaces. And Julia Shining has shown similar propensity to sweep from the back, just as her sister did. Very hard to get past. That maiden effort at Keeneland was dominating. Broke almost dead last, was 7.5 lengths back, and then just in the blink of an eye went from 7.5 lengths back in 9th place at second call to first by 2 lengths at third call. So that should tell you everything you need to know about the turn of foot Julia Shining has, which is just devastating. It's hard to get past a 3-5 favorite. How do you make a 3-5 favorite profitable? Well, you combine it with a pretty big long shot, perhaps in an exacta. That's what I'm going to do with Affirmative Lady. This is the daughter of Arrogate for Graham Motion. Graham Motion is a trainer I just really trust a lot. He doesn't put horses in positions where they're not going to be successful. This horse has yet to break her maiden, but I think has shown a lot in terms of ability. She's shown the ability to pass other horses both times out. She's broken towards the back both times. I actually think she's going to benefit from being in a smaller field. Her first time out was a 10-horse field, then a 12-horse field. Now you're only looking at a 7-horse field, so I don't think she'll be that far back. She's got a decent turn of foot. I think stretching out is going to be beneficial for her. Like I said, has shown some ability to like this at a distance. 10-1 on the morning line. I'd gladly pair Affirmative Lady with Julia Shining in an exacta, try to make a little bit of money if you're going to have to use a horse that most people are going to single in their pick sequences. But like I said, something to keep in mind. Like I said, Affirmative Lady, I like at 10-1. Well, let's go to the Remsen. We'll see if we can replicate last year's duel between Mo Donegal and Zandon, who, of course, going to be running a little bit later in the Cigar Mile. And this one, it's funny. This one I really went back and forth on, and I'm not overwhelmed by this Remsen field. I ended up picking Tuskegee Airman, and I did it for a couple of different reasons. One, I saw Tuskegee Airman break his maiden at Parks on the undercard of Pennsylvania Derby Day. I'm a sucker for, if I see a horse break a maiden in person, I tend to really like following that horse. But here's the thing. David Aragona, who does the morning line, brought up a really good point, which is that this horse did look more immature second time out, winning the Rocky Run at Delaware Park. Now, that was stretching out to a mile. It was over a good surface, which, like I said, took a little moisture. So it was good to see that the horse at least took to that. Here's the thing to note, though, and I don't think David's wrong at all. I think he's right. But here's an explanation for, I think, why the horse may have looked a little bit more immature, may have lacked focus. The horse did not work out at all in between breaking its maiden and that Rocky Run. In fact, the last registered work for this horse was September 10th, breaks its maiden September 24th, then runs the Rocky Run on October 15th. So had not worked out in over a month at that point while running in the Rocky Run. Now comes back from that race, has a workout at Parks on the 5th of November, another one on the 15th, another one on the 23rd. Now this horse is getting schooled a little bit more, having some nice works there, nice 5 furlong works last couple of times out. So I think this horse, I think there might be a reason why this horse maybe lacked a little bit of focus, maybe was a little less professional, because you just didn't get that work in between that first and second effort. I could see a young horse kind of maybe forgetting some of what he learned there. That can certainly happen with horses. So I like the fact that they've had 3 works since then. really hard to get around this horse otherwise, because I think there's going to be a little bit of speed up front. And I think the 4 and 5 are going to go at it. Midnight Trouble and Arctic Arrogance. I think those two are going to set a pretty strong pace. I think Tuskegee Airman's going to like that a lot to be able to run into it. Now, the horse I do like to add a little bit of value is the number 6, Quick to Accuse. This is a horse that I contemplated picking up top, has a very similar running style to some extent to Tuskegee Airman. Obviously, did wire the field and win going up front at Aqueduct 2 out ago, breaking its maiden, then finished second to Arctic Arrogance last time out. I think this horse is going to like more distance. I also think this horse has had some really weird post positions. First 2 times out, breaking from the inside rail, never easy. And then last time, breaking ninth in a 10th horse field, so breaking on the far outside. Does this horse need the lead? I don't think so. I think this horse doesn't necessarily need the lead, and showed a little bit of progression at the Sleepy Hollow, has improved every time out. Like I said, he's also the half to Mr. Buff, who was a horse that absolutely loved Aqueduct. I think going 2 turns here is not going to be an issue. Should actually like that. Should have that early speed to stay close to the pace, but doesn't, I don't think, need to be on the pace, particularly if it's going to be contested. This is not a huge field. Again, maybe not an overwhelming field. Quick to Accuse 6-1. I'll take that shot on the morning line. Well, let's move to the Go for Juan Stakes, race 8 on the card. And this is 1 mile for 3-year-old and up fillies. And this is another one that's kind of interesting to me. Battle Bling is going to be the horse a lot of people point toward. And as the 3-1 morning line favorite, I actually am kind of fading Battle Bling here, obviously. I just think this is a horse that has only 1 win at a mile. Granted, has finished in the money several times, but only 1 win at a mile. Also, if you look last time out, beat Nostalgic. What did Nostalgic do? Nostalgic came back and laid an absolute egg at the Cumley. So I think there's some question about just how good is Nostalgic in this spot. So I'm going to move past Battle Bling, and I'm going to move to Bank Sting, a horse that actually defeated Battle Bling over the Aqueduct surface at a mile before. So really, this Bank Sting loves the track. 6 wins and 8 career efforts at Aqueduct. Very good running the distance, 3 for 5 winning. I just think this is a horse also 4 for 7 winning on off-track conditions. There's just so much to like here. This horse can, I think, handle the distance of a mile. The horse does sprint, but has run well at a mile. And like I said, has 2 wins at that distance, or 3 wins, I should say, at that distance. So I'm not too worried about that fact. I also think the setup is going to work out well. Doesn't need the lead and can still dig in. You saw that particularly 2 out ago at Belmont. Doesn't need the lead and can, like I said, dig in late. So I think Bank Sting 4-1. You're getting a little bit more value here. And this is also a horse that's coming second back from the layoff for John Terranova, winning at a 19% clip on that angle. So who do I like as value in this particular spot? Well, there's a couple of horses that are intriguing, but I'm going to give you a really big price, which is Exotic West at 20-1. This is a horse that had a rough summer at Saratoga, has lost its rider twice in the last 7 races. And this is a horse that got pummeled by Super Quick, but Super Quick that day in the DuPont at Pimlico just pummeled everybody. So I don't hold that against Exotic West. You look at what this horse was doing before that, though. Very, very good. This horse is 2 for 2 at this distance, 2 for 3 winning on a wet track, 3 for 5 winning at Aqueduct. 20-1, I'll gladly take that. This horse has been running against much tougher competition. This horse 3 out ago ran against Clairiere and Malathat. This horse can run well, I think. And I just really like the distance cut back to a mile. I think a mile and an eighth against grade 2 company was maybe a little too much. I think you go at a mile and a grade 3 company. This is not maybe the strongest grade 3 field in the world. I like Exotic West to add some value to your tickets at 20-1. Well, let's go to the headliner, the Cigar Mile. And obviously 1 mile for 3-year-olds and up, and obviously a lot of big names in this particular field. And so who do I like in the Cigar Mile? Well, I'd love to try to get around Zandon, who is the even money favorite for Chad Brown and Joel Rosario, but I just can't. This is a horse that has just never run a bad race. Horse is incredibly honest, has never finished out of the money in his career, That Bluegrass win was extremely impressive. Has a little bit of a Midnight Bourbon feel. This horse likes to finish underneath a lot of seconds, a lot of thirds. Very different running style from Midnight Bourbon, of course. Midnight Bourbon was always up on the lead or near the lead. Zandon is more of that deep closer. Now, here's why I actually like Zandon in this spot, despite the fact that Joel Rosario on a deep closer is sometimes concerning, but this is only going to be a 6-horse field because Obesos is going to scratch because of medical outbreak that's been taking place um, in Churchill Downs. So Obesos, who was halfway to making it to Aqueduct, is not going to run, and you see that Aragona made him 99-1 on the morning line. So Zandon now in a 6-horse field can't fall that far back. I mean, he's not going to have a replication of the Bluegrass where he's, really far back. And he wasn't even that far back if you look at him, the Bluegrass. He was like, 4.5, 5.5 lengths back, just a lot of horses to cover and to pass. He doesn't have nearly as many horses to pass this time around. I think he'll sit a nice trip. He's not going to have a ton of pace to run into, but I just think the distance cutback works perfectly for him. I like the fact this horse has been laid off since the Pennsylvania Derby. Chad Brown, always strong coming back off these types of layoffs, 23% winning. So hard to get around Zandon in this particular spot because here's the thing. I am not a big fan of Mind Control, who's 5-2 in the morning line. This is a horse I know loves Aqueduct, is 7 for 7 in the money with 4 wins at Aqueduct. I was at Parks that day for the dirt mile. That horse came in second, and I should not have won that race. I know he ended up winning that race because the horse in front of him got DQ'd. That was a very weak disqualification, a very weak DQ. And at least in my opinion, it was. And so for Mind Control, had every reason to win that race. And for a big long shot to come and pass him, I just was not overwhelmed by what this horse did. I also saw this horse actually run at the Charlestown Classic 2 out ago. That was another one, just didn't really have it early and then kind of came up a little bit late, but it just was not particularly impressive that day. So I'm a little out on Mind Control. This will be his last race, obviously wishing the best for him in his next career, but I like Zandon up top here. So where do I go for value? I go to my boy Saffie Joseph Jr. for value. White Abarrio. Again, there's not a ton of value in here because of the Obesos scratch at 99-1. I mean, if you like Outlier at 30-1, I just can't get behind that. Double Crown at 15-1 maybe gives you a little bit more value, but I don't see it there. And so for me, White Abarrio at 9-2 is kind of your best value play. And the argument for White Abarrio is very similar to that of Zandon. This is a horse that got a nice break in between the Pennsylvania Derby and the Cigar Mile, is now coming back and has been running dynamite works down in Gulfstream Park, 58.45 furlong, 59.35 furlong, a 47.34 furlong leading up to this. So this horse is feeling good. It has a lot of speed. The cutback is going to be, I think, ideal for this horse. Only time running this distance, one, has never faced off-track conditions. So that's something obviously keep in mind, but I just think this horse is going to be forwardly placed and is not going to have a lot of competition on the front end. So I think White Abarrio could very easily get a nice, easy lead and pull off a little bit of an upset. But I like White Abarrio to add value here in this particular race. Well, let's close it out with race 10 on the card, and let's find us a winner in the bailout. And this is a $50,000 starter allowance for 3-year-olds and up, going 7 furlongs. And I'm going with a couple of horses here that I'm intrigued by. So my top pick is the 5 Major Spin for Rudy Rodriguez, jockeyed by Luis Saez, 4-1 on the morning line. Should sit just off of the number 4 horse in terms of the early speed. Tenebris. Tenebris is coming back from this huge, well, not huge, but a pretty substantial layoff, and always likes to be on the lead anyway, or near the lead. I think this horse will feel pretty good, get out there, set an early pace. I think Major Spin will be smart to sit just off of that pace, actually, and let Tenebris kind of run itself out a little bit. This is a horse that's run well on off-track conditions, 2 for 2 in the money with a win and a second place. So it's never finished outside the exacta. And quite frankly, this is a horse that just the numbers fit. If you look at the distance fits, the numbers fit. This is a good horse in this spot. hard to see this horse running a bad race in this particular spot. So, like I said, I think Major Spin, who's been on the claiming circuit quite a bit, was part of Linda Rice's barn, Tom Morley's barn, now Rudy Rodriguez's barn. So, like a lot there with the number 5 hard spin. Ultimately, where did I end up going for my value? Well, I went to Gaslight, 10-1 on the morning line. This is my top value play in the last race. Patrick Quick, the trainer, is winning at a 20% clip, second back from the layoff, which is what Gaslight is doing in this particular race. Ran well at this level last time out. That's the thing. Last time out, ran 6 furlongs in a $50,000 starter allowance at Aqueduct and finished a really close third. So I definitely like to see that. And now, kind of stretching out that additional furlong. Horse has won at a mile, so going 7 furlongs should not be an issue. Has only time running on a wet track has won. So is 1-for-1 on that wet track conditions. Broke its maiden at a mile. So again, distance shouldn't be an issue. Stretching out doesn't seem to be a problem. This horse has been working out nicely, seems to be healthy, coming back on about a 3-week layoff. So I like Gaslight at 10-1 to add a little bit of value to your tickets. So that is race 1 through 10. Tried to get it to you in less than 30 minutes, but 35 minutes, not too bad to get all of that through. So I wish you all the best on this card at Aqueduct. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at the handle at Fail to Menace. Make sure to like and subscribe the video and subscribe to Trust the Profits on YouTube. And make sure to check out all the other great stuff that we have to offer here on Trust the Profits. Again, my name is Matthew Desantis. Follow me on Twitter at the handle Fail to Menace. Until next time, friends, have a great and prosperous day at the races. And remember that it's now post time.